Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. Ignore this microphone. I haven't gotten it working yet. We're here today, and it's a bright, not a bright sunny day. It's a thunderstormy day. So we're going to have a nice, fun conversation where we're going to talk a little bit about, creating a community and, a little bit of insurance. So we're here with Sean Fitzgerald today, and I actually met him through Facebook and through a Facebook group and networking. So we're going to talk a little bit about all of those things and, Sean's involvement with creating a community during COVID-19. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Sean on and we will start this up. Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Hey, it's going well, Celia. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I usually shut my blinds and I'm just looking at rain right now. Like, it's crazy.
I kind of like it. I'm weird like that, though.
I mean, once this is done, if I get to listen to the rain and relax for a little bit, that'll be nice.
Yeah.
So, Sean, I want you to go a little bit into your background, and I would love to hear a little bit about, I guess, you as a person and a little more. I'm going to send out the link, and we're going to get into some different topics throughout the conversation, but who are you? What do you do? And, what have been some of your goals the past couple of months?
All right, cool. Well, first of all, Celia, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I know I said this last time we spoke, but I find what you're doing to be super motivational for me personally. I always see you out there putting yourself out there on social media on every channel possible. So I just want to say I think that's really cool. And to answer your question, obviously, my name is Sean Fitzgerald. I was born and raised on Long Island. Grew up mainly in the Selden, Coram area, which is like the middle of Long Island. And, I would say I grew up with a bit of a entrepreneurial background. It was funny at a younger age, I always was taught like you have to work for what you want. So at like 10, 12 years old, I was, when it was snowing out, I was knocking on doors, shoveling driveways. When, the leaves would be on the ground, I'd be knocking on doors and raking leaves, $10, $15, $20 a house. Was probably getting completely ripped off, but it was something that, something I enjoyed to do. And, those things helped me buy the new skateboard I wanted, or, the new video game I wanted, whatever I was into at that time. Then as I grew older, middle school and high school, I got involved with football. Full disclosure, I was not good at all, but football, like being around the football team just helped me get more friends, taught me about brotherhood, camaraderie, hard work, just showing up for practice every day and everyone trying to achieve like a certain goal. So that was really cool. It taught me a lot. And then around the age of, let's say like 18 years old, just graduating high school, getting into college, I didn't even really want to go to college. I had no clue what I wanted to do. I didn't even take my SATs. I went to a community college, Suffolk County Community College, and I just kind of winged it, honestly. I didn't enjoy any of the classes. I didn't find any of them interesting. And I was kind of just found myself like, what am I doing right now with my life? Then I'd say around like the age of 19, I met who's a really close friend of mine now. His name's Jake Glazer. And he was one of the first people I met that was about my age, but he was, I guess you can call it like quote unquote successful, like very happy guy, had a brand new car. Like, he had some of the fancier things. He had like new clothes. He just like presented himself very well. And he seemed very happy. So that like prompted me to want to hang out with him more and ask him more questions like, dude, what do you do for a living? And he told me, hey, I'm in the military. I'm a, aircraft electrician. And that just instantly I was like, oh, how do I get into that? That seems awesome. And, I wound up joining boot camp. I did my technical training, Air Force National Guard. So it wasn't active duty, but basically how it works is after you go through your boot camp, you go through your technical training. It's one weekend a month throughout the year. And basically they give you like a couple of weeks throughout the year to work, and you can get a little more work if you want it or need it. So it leaves you open to have a full-time job as well. I know I'm rambling on and on, but I'll keep
No
going.
worries.
I'm almost finished. So then after, I would say like 2 to 3 years after being in the military, so about 21 years old, I met someone for the first time that married into my family, and I got invited to the house, and I showed up. And now, similar to how I met my friend Jake, I thought he had some like nice things, and that prompted me to be interested in what he was doing. This person was very similar, but it was like a whole nother level. I get to their house. They had like 2 really nice cars in the driveway. I walk around the side of the house. Their house was right on the water. They had a boat docked against the bulkheading in the backyard. And I, like, within 5 minutes, I was just like, what do you do for a living? And, that's when I learned about insurance. And, honestly, when he first said insurance to me, I was kind of like, ugh, like, nobody finds insurance interesting or exciting. So I kind of just like shook it off, But after the way he spun it to me was like, there's more than just auto and home insurance. There's business insurance. You can sit down with different restaurant owners, contractors, auto repair shops, whatever you like, and you can kind of tailor what you like to grow in your business. That really intrigued me. And again, here we go. Same thing. Like, I was just like, are you hiring? Like, how do I get into this? And he's like, yeah, he kind of like blew me off. Like, go get your license and, we'll talk. So I Googled how to get my insurance license, went to like the 3-month school you had to do. I got my license. Took me a couple times to pass, but I got my license. And, I called them and I got the job. And I did that for the last 9 years. And about 4 months ago, I finally opened up my own agency. And it's something, honestly, I never thought I would enjoy the insurance business, but it's something I really do enjoy. And I think for me specifically, it's because I tailor it to like the niche markets that I like to write in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. And, insurance is one of those things that people don't always want to talk about. They don't always want to hear about, but it's one of those things where if something does happen, they're glad that they have it. Like, if my roof caved in right now, I would be real happy to have renter's insurance or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, there's a reason that we pay for car insurance or business insurance. And you could probably go a little further into why it's important to have these things.
Yeah. Also too, just to piggyback off that, I think it depends on the type of person. There's people out there that I've dealt with that they don't want extra insurance. They don't want any protection. They just have it because, the state's forcing them to have it. And,
of course,
they want the minimum limit as possible just so they can get by. And listen, at the end of the day, like, if that's how you're going to be, that's fine. That's not like my target audience. But, it's definitely important to have. It depends on, what type of insurance you're talking about specifically. But for, a business owner, it's beyond important to have because, New York is the state of everybody suing everybody. So, a very common one is like a slip and fall, a fire, even all this crazy stuff with the rioting going on. You want to have that vandalism coverage, just God forbid, something were to happen. So that's the short answer to that question.
Gotcha. And with your business, you do business, home, and auto, correct?
Yeah, I do business, home, and auto. I would say listen, every agent you talk to out there is going to say, hey, I do every type of business, right? And, our customer service is the best. Truthfully, with me, it's obviously the customer service is great, but I have like specialty markets for specific businesses. So I tend to focus on the hospitality industry. So think of like restaurants and bars. And we mainly focus in like the New York City to Long Island area. So just basically the New York State area. And we also specialize with contractors and auto repair shops. So those are like our 3 niche markets on the business side. And then on the personal side is home and auto. I do some life insurance, but it's not really something, people enjoy talking about. A and B, it's, I'll get into it eventually, but it's, nobody loves having that conversation, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I personally am one of those young people that have life insurance already, but
Good for you.
People are like, why are you doing that already? Like, why are you doing like life insurance? You're only 26. And I'm like, well, when I'm 60, all the money from when I was 26 is going to be worth a lot more. But I don't want to go too far down that road because people will probably tune out because it's like not exactly what they want to hear today.
Yeah, we're going to scare everyone away.
Yeah, but I would love to transition into the fact that you do a few things on top of obviously the insurance stuff, and one of
Yeah.
those is your podcast, and the other one of those is you created a community online during obviously like a hard time when everyone's like had to be home. Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the community first. Like, what inspired you to start getting everyone together on Facebook?
Well, yeah, for with the Facebook community, it's funny you bring it up because I'm a part. So basically, how the idea came about is I'm a part of a few different Facebook groups,
Mm-hmm.
and I won't mention them specifically, but they're community Facebook groups. It could be a mom and dad's group, something along those lines. It could be an entrepreneurial group. There's a few different ones I'm in, and I found that all of them tend to be not about the topic at hand, and most of the comments on all the posts are people just like, just continually bashing each other. And it was more like politicized than anything. And I was like, well, there's really no like Facebook group specific to a community that has like one goal and one purpose, and where everyone just like bounces idea off of each other and stays connected, And I figured, what better time than now with the whole pandemic going on and, everything that's in the news, it's horrible, but if we can do something to add a little positive spin to it, I just feel like that could help. And that was my main goal behind it.
So what types of people joined your group? Because I know it has a very specific title, and
Yeah. So it's the Long Island Entrepreneurs Helping Each Other group. It's extremely long. But when I think about names, I did this with my business, with LAF Advisors. Sometimes you put way too much thought into the name, and truthfully, to me, the name doesn't really mean much. It's what you make the name. So I just wanted to make it specific to what the group is, and just roll on with it and not dwell on it too much. But yeah, it's just about exactly what it sounds like: getting people in the Long Island community together to again bounce ideas off each other, make more connections, and hopefully make each other overall better business people and better people overall. You know what I mean?
Of course. And especially right now with the fact that people may not be able to be open or may not be able to do like their face-to-face meetings or have some sort of obstacle that they need to kind of push past, for lack of a better word. I think that it's great that you brought a place together on Facebook for people to come discuss what they're going through basically and learn from each other.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. So like, have there been any standout moments or anything with some of the posts that you think really help a lot of people?
Yeah, I find people engage more on the posts when you can kind of get them talking about their own business, So that's been cool to see people like, I just like seeing people engage with other people. So, and also too, like if I see somebody comment, like I hop in and I comment as well, because I want to show people that like I'm engaged with the community, So yeah, it's just, I think that's been the coolest part. There's not one thing that like specifically stands out, but it's been very cool to see everyone interacting and like liking the live videos that I do once a week. So, I'm not trying to, overkill and like post every single day in there, but I'm trying to do at least like 2-3 times a week, keep people interested and, just kind of see what happens. Yeah, I'm the type of person, I think you could tell, like I just love experimenting with new things and seeing what works and what doesn't. And these are, one of those projects that I'm just playing with and seeing how I like it. But so far, so good.
Of course. Yeah, I'm very similar if you haven't figured that out by now. Because, I jumped in real heavy with this show at the very beginning to see, hey, where's this going to go? What can I do with this? And I know you've also, tried out the same softwares and stuff that I have because we actually met because I was like, hey, do you want to see how StreamYard works? And I was like, oh, I'll show you. And then we got to talking a bit, and then that's how I ended up on one of your lives. And I would love to hear a little bit more about what you've been doing with those lives, because I know that it's within that group that you made.
Yeah. So with those lives, honestly, I'm not doing too much. I'm just keeping them specific. It also makes the people in the group feel a little bit more comfortable when I can spin it as, hey, Celia, I'd like to have you on next Wednesday at 9. we're a community of whatever, 50 members. It's not like the entire world's going to see it. So, it makes them feel a little bit more, comfortable to go live. Cause I find that, even for me, listen, I've done a lot of these live shows now. I've done like 30 podcast episodes, and I still every once in a while get a little nervous right before for what I don't even know what the reason is. So I'm sure people that have never done it feel that way. And, I figured that's another good way to get people started in something like that,
I agree. This is episode 58. Welcome to episode 58.
Nice.
So this is episode 58 of my show. And, one of my favorite parts is after the live turns off, someone that, isn't typically in front of the camera says, I was really nervous about this. Like I haven't gotten ready in 2 or 3 weeks, but I got ready for this. And, I had a lot of fun. And especially the people that are nervous, I had a lot of fun. That is a great feeling.
Yeah. I think it's just the people feeling back to what you said, it's just they're feeling connected to somebody, they're actually getting to talk to someone, which they haven't been able to do in a while. So it's, obviously it's in a different sense. We're on a video call, but it still makes you feel like you're building connections,
100%. And that's one of the reasons I made this show, because then I would have a nice conversation with someone different every day. There's only been 1 or 2 people that have been on here twice so far. And it's always for they're working on a different project, or they're in a group of people that I'm bringing on the second time. Because I want to give people, and this is the same probably for you, an avenue or a way to get their message out, to tell people, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what we're doing. This is how we pivoted. And especially for business owners, that's super important right now.
Yeah. And what I think is, go a little off topic here. What I think is really cool about video content in general is that and this is one of the reasons why I actually started my podcast, is because think of for me specifically, my grandpa didn't know who he was. There's nothing I can really look at to see who he was. Think about all the content that you're putting out, right? That one day somebody in your family will be able to reflect on and be like, oh, look, this was Celia. She did, 1 year she did 360 live streams. So, I just think it would be really cool for someone that wants to learn about you when you're no longer here to be able to reflect on. Got a little morbid, but you know what I mean? Reflect on, different types of things so they can learn who you are.
I don't think that's morbid. I think that if I could go back and, watch my grandma and grandpa doing stuff in their earlier years, because when, if I have grandkids, they're not going to know me looking like this. They're going to know me as grandma. And I would love to be able to go back and say oh, look, this is what they were doing in their 20s, their 30s, and things like that. And, with creating things like the shows that me and you have, that'll give people a chance to do that in the future. And I actually had a guest on here all of the weeks, all of them fade together, but I believe it was last Monday or the Monday before. And it was the Monday before, because it was the same day that I hit my head and got a concussion. And it was... he's a photographer, and he was talking a little bit about, taking pictures around family, because if for some reason something happened to one of the family members, you have those memories. And, it might seem a little intrusive at first, but then, and I had this same sentiment, and I know this is also a little morbid, but he was saying at his grandma's funeral, they put up all the pictures, and he was like, oh, I took that one, and I took that one. And I took that one. And it was the same for me at my grandfather's. So it's all comes together as an interesting perspective of kind of taking a period of time and I don't know, making a virtual time capsule.
100%. And photographs are one thing. And that was another reason the podcast. It's not only can you get photographs from it, you can get video, you can get audio, you can get social media posts out of it. So there's a lot of different types of, tech that you can, content that you can pull from one hour conversation. You know what I mean?
100%. And your podcast is called the Business Journey Podcast, correct?
Yeah, it's the Business Journey Podcast. And again, the thought behind that was, I don't know why I keep coming back to these like community things, but it was like, how do I build a community, and what do I enjoy? So I specifically like love it, learning about someone's business, how they got into the business, and like what's their motivations. Do they have a mentor? Like I love stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, I can tie that into the community by like interviewing people in the community. And on top of that, I do a lot of business insurance. So I'm like, okay, that could maybe tie into my business. I interview these people, maybe they'll, next time their renewal, I'm not a pushy person at all, so I never ask, but next time their renewal comes up, maybe it'll spark something in their mind. Like, oh, I should call Sean. I sat down with him last year. He's a good guy. I can trust him, type of thing. And that was really the main reason behind the podcast. And it's helped me, besides that too, it's helped me create a lot of extra social media content, which I'm trying to do more of. I'm very inconsistent. I need to be more consistent with it. But yeah, it's helped me, create some video posts and stuff like that.
There's a lot of interesting points that you just brought up. One of them being like keeping it in the community. And that's one of the things that I do. I like to try and keep things local as much as I can. Obviously, if I have a cool guest from, California or something, 100% I'm going to bring them on. But, a lot of my guests are from the Long Island community as well, because there's so many amazing things going on across the island, whether it is in business, whether it is in nonprofits, whether it is in communities, or whether it's experiences that people have.
Yeah.
It's great to know what's going on in your own backyard.
100%. And I wouldn't even feel comfortable about talking about, another region besides the New York region, because I'm not familiar with it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I find those videos, they tend to do much better because people in the community are interested in what's going on with their business. You know what I mean? So if I were to interview a business owner in California, for me specifically, the video probably wouldn't do all that well, because most people that follow me are from my community. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, because the ones that I've had on from other places, it depends on their audience how well the video does, because I'm not like interviewing the typical business owner. When I'm interviewing people from other places, it's usually like I had a travel blogger on. So she was talking about the whole world. She wasn't just talking about how she lives in California. But I did have a couple of business owners from elsewhere on, and I'm like, darn, I wish that episode did better. Like, they had such great things to say. But when you see mom and pop shop that you've known for, I don't know, years and years and years since you were born pop up on your news feed, yes, you're going to click on that because you're like, this is something I'm familiar with, and this is something I want to know what's going on with them.
Exactly.
So, like, obviously, you have this podcast and you circled it around business, and there is a networking aspect to it. But do you think that like having something in that realm like is beneficial and more people should get involved with doing something like a podcast?
I think so. Yeah. Listen, I think I'm a little extreme, but I think if you own a business, you should have a podcast. I think every business can benefit from it. Now, of course, people, like, the one thing I get is like, how do you have the time to do it? The truth is, if you want to do it, you can make time for it. I think, not to be harsh, time, when people say they can't do it because they don't have time, it's a bit of an excuse. It just means they don't want to do it. So I think you just need to cut out the hour in the day, plan ahead. Like it was so funny when we were talking about being on your podcast, you're like, yeah, my whole month is booked, but I could, you could hop on next month. So I think as long as you plan ahead and just block it out of your schedule, I think that's great. And realistically, like, I've done plenty of podcasts before 9 a.m. I've done plenty after 5. So it doesn't really interfere with work. But to answer your question, I think everyone can benefit from it. Like you said, a great networking tool. And it just helps you build a personal brand, especially in the insurance world. You have the State Farms and the Allstates and the Geicos. The only way I'm going to separate myself from them is by putting myself out there for people to get to know who I am. And I think that can apply to any business.
I agree. I think that I even had a block before I made mine, because I was like, oh, I'm not going to have the time. Like, people aren't going to be able to make the time to come on my show, which realistically, like, that wasn't true, because it was in my head and I was like, oh, like eventually I'll get around to this idea.
Yeah.
Eventually I'll start my show.
And the truth is, so I don't mean to cut you off, but I have to
go
jump
for
in
it.
here. The truth is, like, that went through my head too. Like, who the hell's going to want to be on like the Business Journey podcast, you know? But I think, you know, at the end of the day, that's kind of like just insecurity talking, right? So it's like, you know, if you really think about it, you're reaching out to someone for them to be on your show. 9 out of 10 people are like actually really excited. They're like, wow, Sean, you know, he wants me to be on his show. It's like a good feeling for them. So sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, you're 100% right. I think that out of, you know, I've had 58 episodes. I have it scheduled up through episode 60, and then I'm going to be doing more scheduling. But, you know, only 2 people said, like, one person said that they weren't interested, and one person just fell off the map with emails. Yeah. That's 2 out of 60.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Like, it shows that people want to be a part of something. And there's even more of an incentive if you're a business owner, because you're advertising while you do it. So exactly. I think that having something like this, and I know that we're 2 Long Island based, you know, podcasters, web people, web show
I don't know the title.
hosts. I know every time, it depends where I'm like writing it, where, you know, how it's written. But, you know, like we are giving people an opportunity to get themselves out there, especially because a lot of people with social media get nervous with being on camera, or like posting pictures, or saying the wrong thing, or things along those lines. We are kind of helping them to figure that out while they're on the show, if that makes sense, with the questions we ask.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, people, especially in the community, are nosy. They want to know, they want to learn more about you. And if they can pull up a video instead of reading a post, most people would rather do that, you know?
100%. And I know that there, how do I want to explain this? Lots of people don't like getting in front of the camera. And I feel like when you're being interviewed, and especially like, you know, how when you're on a live like this, there's 2 people up, one person's asking you questions, it's a conversation. It's a lot more approachable than, okay, I'm alone on screen, I have to say these things, I'm going to talk about the things that people need to know. Like, it's a whole different experience. And you get in your head when you're like, looking right at the camera, and you're like, I have to be perfect now. I have to get all the words out. I have to get all the information out. And I feel like it's a deterrent for some people.
100%. And I think, you know, it was for me too in the beginning. I think you just have to get yourself to a place where you just don't care what other people think, you know? You just, if somebody does write a bad comment, like, thank God I haven't got a bad comment yet. But if I did, at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. Like, just move on and just not think about it. And if you can let those insecurities go by, then, you know, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I've gotten like a rude comment here or there, not too many, but and it's usually someone that's just like looking for some attention. And it's not in a malicious way either. It's like a little passive aggressive comment that they kind of just want you to respond to.
Yeah. You know, I tried to not bring Gary Vaynerchuk up in this, because I bring him up every podcast episode. That's but fine. I heard something he said that really stuck with me. Like, if you really start to dissect like why someone's leaving like a hateful comment, at the end of the day, you just have to feel like really sorry for that person, because you don't know what they're going through, right? And B, you know, you don't know what their situation is like. So at the end of the day, it's more of just like, wow, I feel sorry for that person, you know?
And then on the other side of that I've heard from many different sources, and this probably goes back to Gary Vee or something. That person's taking the time to help your post do better, because they're putting a comment on there.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Like with all of the different algorithms, if you have interactions, if you have comments, if you have anything going on in addition to the actual post, like likes, comments, shares, you're going to do better. on
I
that
know.
platform.
Yeah. So if you're a hater out there, don't comment on anybody's stuff. You're just gonna make
Yes,
it perform better.
keep it to yourself, except for,
Exactly.
if you really want to help us out as creators. Um,
True.
the other thing that like, since we're on this topic, that I always try and stress is like what a like or a comment or a share actually means to us as creators, because like and I would love if we can go into this a little bit, and I'll tell you my side of it, and then you can kind of jump in. A like or a comment or a share kind of is a reinforcement that people are involved and are learning and care about the content that we're creating. Because I feel like a lot of people, they'll come, they'll jump in, they'll watch, but you never know that they're actually watching until 2 months later when they're like, oh, I've been watching your stuff every week. And you're
Yeah.
like, I didn't know. If I knew, I would have said hi on air and been like, hello, viewer, or like, hello, friend
Yeah.
that's supporting me. But, if you don't tell us, or you don't give that little like or any of those things, like, how are we supposed to know as creators? And also, like, I feel like it's encouraging for us to continue and to put our all into our content.
Yeah, I agree with you. And listen, I'm glad you brought this up because I've heard other people say or push like, hey, you like my stuff, I'll like your stuff. You comment on my stuff and I'll return the favor and comment on your stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly like, if that's what you're into, that's cool. Me personally, I don't like that. Like, if you like my stuff, then like my stuff. If you don't, then, don't comment on it, don't like it. I'm fine with that. For me personally, it's more like, if you like it, if one person likes or views my video, honestly, I could have, let's say I had one view on my next podcast video, I would be completely fine with that as long as that one person got something out of it. And I know what you're saying, like, well, Sean, how do you know if they got something out of it if they don't comment? But, there are times where I've had a podcast episode, get like 20 views, but then I'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, oh my God, I heard your conversation with so-and-so the other day. And like that one part like really stuck out to me. And it's like, wow, like, that's all it takes,
I agree. I've throughout the pandemic, I'm going to use the fact that we're all home as an example. I've gotten messages here or there from people saying like, I was in a rut, like I couldn't create anything, but hearing you talk about this or seeing you still creating like got me out of that, and thank you. Or, hey, like I saw your episode with this person and I didn't know that like this person did this, and like I reached out to them. Those little nuggets of information like that someone is now later on telling you, like, just kind of makes it worth it. Because if I can help
100%.
one person, that's amazing. If I can help 5 people, that's amazing. If I can help hundreds of people, which I would love to at some point or whatever,
Yeah.
that's an amazing feat. And I think just being that person to kind of put out those good vibes, the information, those posts to help people is really important, especially in the past few months.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, you hit the nail right on the head. That's what it's all about. And that's why I can't stand, like my stuff and I like your stuff. It's just, if you like it. You know what I mean? If you're not into it, don't like it just because I'm liking your stuff. You know what I mean?
I getcha. Though, friends and family, if you're seeing this, let me know you're here.
Friends and family. Friends and family's okay.
Yeah, the way that I look at it, and I've been doing this throughout the entire past couple of months, every time I see like someone that's been consistently doing stuff, every so often I'll just pop in. I might not remember to like every single thing that they're doing, but I'll pop into their messages and be like, hey, like, how are you? Like, I know you're doing a lot. You're helping a lot of people. You're giving people something to consume that's not just the news. And you're doing something good for the community.
Yeah.
And 10 times out of 10, that person responds back and is very appreciative, because think about who you're seeing on your, like, make content on your Facebook, your Instagram. Like, they're continuing on with creating even in a difficult time.
Mhm.
And if they're providing value to people, like they're really thinking about what they're putting out there. So
Agreed.
it's just, you know, it takes 30 seconds to write up something and say like, hey, I see you. I see
Yeah.
you're trying to help. I see you're still doing this, even though maybe you had to change how or what you're putting on your Instagram or whatever. Like it, I feel like there is kind of merit to what they're trying to do, and I feel like just having that little quick message really will change,
Mhm.
like make someone's day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And we have to realize too, like as people, as anybody that puts out any sort of video content, you have to realize like we're in the internet age. Like it's so information overload. Like everyone's
Mhm.
getting stuff thrown at them all day on TV, on their phone. They're getting alerts on their phone. They have all these different social media channels. So if somebody doesn't like or comment something, comment on something you post, but they usually do on most things, like, you know, just don't take it to heart, because at the end of the day, there's so much stuff out there. You just got to roll with the punches.
I getcha. And like I feel like I've been on social media for a while. I've been posting it like almost every single
Mhm.
day on Instagram since like 2017, 2016,
Wow.
2017. So like I know like, hey, sometimes you're gonna get a lot of likes, sometimes you're gonna get a little like, but that's also because, what if something's going on that day? What if you're
Yeah.
posting something that's not Super Bowl related on the day of the Super Bowl? Like you're going to get pushed down a little bit, but that's
Yeah.
not something that should discourage you. And also for like the fact that, business owners may be trying to grow a presence, like you need to keep that in mind as well, because not every post is going to get 500 likes. I think I have maybe one post that's ever gotten 500 likes. And like
500 likes is probably like my total likes combined out of all my posts.
but the point is like it's all about the process and the journey you're taking. Look, we're circling it back to the journey,
There we
um
go.
with your kind of online persona.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, that's why I keep doing what I'm doing. And like I said before, I'm just a person that likes to experiment. So people on the outside might think like, wow, he's doing too much, but it all depends on your personality.
Hmm. So Sean, how do you decide the guests that you bring on for both your show or for the Facebook group?
So for the Facebook group, I only bring on people who are in the Facebook group.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I do that. I did four of them. The first five are like people I know personally that are in the group.
Mhm.
This way, it's just, when you have someone that you know personally, it just makes it for an easier conversation. So that's kind of how I started that. And that's going to continue to be just people within the group. So
Mhm.
we can all continue to, build relationships. On the podcast side, like I said, I try to keep it to the community. So what I do is I look up businesses in the community that I enjoy. So it could be a restaurant that I really loved, or my wife and I could have went to this place and we loved eating there. So I want to reach out to the owner. And what I do is it's funny. I don't even call. I just send them a message on Instagram. And usually you can tell by how active the person is on social media if they're like adapt to doing something like this.
Mhm.
So that's basically what I'm doing. Like the restaurants in Bayshore, a lot of them are on Instagram and a lot of them are like engaged with the community. So that's like how I got a bulk of mine in the beginning. I just reached out to them. Hey, I'd love to have you on the show. I think it could bring value to the community. Mine aren't live, so I spin that too. Like it's not live, it's just recorded. So if there's anything after you don't like, we can snip it out, so don't feel nervous. So that's kind of how I spin it on the podcast side. I do have people that aren't business owners on there as well. I'm really looking to just find someone who has like it doesn't even have to be an entrepreneurial mindset, but someone who just wants to do better for themselves, or let's say they have a career and they really love what they do. Like I just love, well, why do you love what you do? And how did you get into that? That's more of, kind of how I tie it in.
Of course, and that makes total sense. Ooh, my voice went. But for my show, at least, a lot of what I do on here is going through people I know to find people that would be great guests. I've had a lot of people from my own network. I've had a lot of my clients, and I just like giving them that opportunity to come on. Obviously, like down the line, if I run out of people, I'm gonna have to do what you do and reach out to people through Instagram and be like,
Yeah,
"Hi,
it's
friends. Hello."
it's not as bad as you think though, because
I know.
like we said before, you know, those people, most of them are either A, you're not going to get a response, and at that point, I'm never. This is how I am insurance. I'm not pushy. I'm not going to badger you with phone calls and messages. Like you get one. If you don't like it, then maybe next year I'll reach out. But I'm going to leave you alone. But most people are just so happy that you even asked. You know.
Of course. Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's your show or it's my show. And a lot of people don't really think it's approachable to get onto something like that. Like they think
Yeah.
like, oh, they must be like booked out, or they don't want to talk to me. So having that moment of, oh, me? I'm gonna be on the show. Always is something that feels good. And like I said, for me, I've had 2 people that were like, nah, I don't know. Out of it's 60 episodes on Monday, like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's a numbers game.
100%. So what are some of your goals for, the next couple of months? I know that we're in a crazy time right now, but what would you like to be doing in the next few months?
Yeah. So the next few months, I really want to focus on, the way I am, like I feel like I'm doing something new every week. So I'm kind of just adapting with the days and the weeks here, not really the months for me specifically. But I just want to focus on like if we are going to continue to be in this like weird phase 1, are we going to phase 2? Nobody really like knows what's happening. I want to continue to just like put in a lot of effort into, the Facebook community, my podcasts, continue to put out social media content, get my name out there and kind of build my brand. And that's what I want to focus on. For me, my business was planned around building a lot of commercial insurance. But as you can imagine, the hospitality industry not doing so great right now. Contractors just started kind of picking up again, but I'm not the type of person that I'm not the type of person that's going to cold call somebody and try to like get business from them during like a crazy time like this. So I'm more leaving the businesses alone and just helping my current clients. And on the personal line side has picked up a lot. So a lot of people shopping there, like home and auto policy, and they want second opinions. They want to save money on their insurance. So I'm putting a lot of my energy there. But I definitely want to do more things like this just so I can stay active and create more content and build the brand.
And it gives you something to get ready for each day.
Exactly. I got to put on a different t-shirt for once.
Yeah. I see exactly what you're saying. Like, I'm not sitting here going, hey, client, you haven't advertised in like 2 months. You should do something. You should have me come there. Like, yeah, if you haven't advertised in 2 months, you might not have been open. You might not have the revenue. You might have had some issues. So I'm kind of doing the same thing. People are starting to come out of the woodwork and say, hey, how much would it be to do this? And I'm like, all right, yeah, like this is how much it would be. This is how long it would take, whatever it may be. But I'm not sitting here going, okay, everyone watching this show, I want you to, call me right now. We're going to set something up right now, because that's not helping me. That's not helping them. And it's more of like, hey, when you're ready, you're ready. Like we said really early in this conversation, like, people aren't typically ready to talk about things like life insurance. They have to be ready. They have to have some sort of life moment where they're like, oh, this is something that I really should look into. They're not just going to be like, oh, I'm 21 years old and I want to look into something that's going to, help my family 70 years from now, maybe. So I think that the way that you're doing it, personally, I think that's a good way of going about it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. And I know that was like a rant. Whenever I
No,
talk, it goes like this, and then it makes its way back eventually.
uh,
Um,
it's cool.
sure.
It's cool. No, you sound great. You know, it's funny. That's a thing too. Like you have a podcast, right? You have like your Facebook community, whatever is like going on, and then like anytime you have to re-listen to yourself, it's like for me, it's like ugh. I just hate hearing myself talk. But yeah,
I don't re-listen to these. And
no.
sorry for ruining that
No,
that
it's all right. You do a lot
imagery.
more. You do a lot more live, right? So I have a lot more stuff I have to edit afterwards. So for
Yeah.
me, it's like torturous. Like, did I really say that? But,
Well, the reason that I do these live is because I don't have the time to edit it. I am editing other people's
oh
videos
yeah,
like that,
yeah,
or I'm preparing other people's videos or coaching people on how they can be on camera.
yeah. So you're
So
sick of
to
it.
sit down, well, yeah, to sit down and edit it when it's your job to edit things is like, oh, I could be doing 15 other things right now, which is why I do this live, which is why
Yeah.
after this, I literally am going to download the audio file, go snip, snip, put the song on the beginning and the end and put it all the way out into the other things. Like I don't have also the fact that these are hour-long shows, the time to sit down and listen to an hour-long show again
Oof.
when I'm doing another one in a day or so.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Though I will tell you, at the beginning of this, I actually started this show on Instagram Live, and
Mm.
I would have to like screen record the Instagram Live off of Instagram after I was done with the live. So basically what I did with that was like I listened to those first ones and like it was great conversation. I was like, oh wow, we really got into that, or like this is
Mm.
really good. So like that was kind of my proof of concept for the first X amount of episodes, listening to them back, and I was like, okay, good. I don't sound like, I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm asking good questions.
Do these go live on Instagram too, or it's just Facebook?
No, I need about 1,500 more likes or follows on my Instagram, and then I can start putting the link into there for that swipe up feature,
Oh,
which is 10,000. You need 10,000 for that swipe up
that's
feature.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
know. I've been
you're
working
doing
real
what you
hard
can
on
do.
that. You can only grow so quickly without, putting a ton of money behind it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
do everything organically, which takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I mean, listen, doing it organically is the way to go because, there's a few people I follow. Yeah, I have 9,000 followers, but like 8 people are like in the photo. Something isn't right there.
Yeah, a lot of people also like they'll pay for things like shout outs on different pages and things like that. And I'm just like, I don't
Mm.
want to give someone $150. I've gotten those emails and they're like, for $150, like we have this many followers, we'll put your picture up there. I'm like, I'm not gonna do
Yeah.
that. I don't
Yeah.
think I want to do that.
No, thanks.
I do everything through trying my best. Oh, we actually have a comment by the way from Sean. Sean says awesome interview.
Awesome, man. Yeah, Sean and I scheduled a phone call tomorrow to talk. Not live or recorded or anything, but yeah, he's
Oh,
another
Sean is
fellow. He's a fellow insurance guy.
nice. Thank you for tuning in today, Sean. We appreciate it. There's so many Seans in that could have been in that sentence. But for this Sean, for you, Sean, do you have any words of wisdom you would like to share with our viewers? We're coming up towards the end of the hour, and I would love to hear if there's anything that you would just love for people to know, whether it's about insurance, whether it's about just, hey, do it, make your podcast, do your thing, or
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
between.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to put people to sleep with any more insurance talk, but I think it's important to note, like now with all the crazy times going on, just, and Chris Chanchuli said this to me too. And it's just so true. It's just, it's super important now more than ever to keep some sort of routine. Right. And if you can't, if your routine's going to the gym and you can't do that, go for a long walk outside, run around the block, do something, just have some sort of routine, keep your mind, focused on the goal at hand. And, don't let all this stuff in the news around COVID, really, really bothering you get to your head. I know some people, unfortunately, like I don't know what it feels like. No one in my family passed away, thank God. But I did have some people on my wife's side that had it and they came out okay. So, I'm grateful for that. And I'm sorry for anybody that had anything related to COVID happen to them. It's, it's a horrible thing. But I think, the routine and just staying consistent is super important now more than ever.
I 100% agree. And, I had to get myself into a routine, and that's why my shows are, 12, 1, 2 o'clock, because it makes me get up, makes me get ready, and makes me do things in the morning. So the show is my version of, hey, I'm going to the gym and I have to work around that.
Yeah. Now, listen, everyone has their own thing. Some people go to the gym, some people meditate, some people go for a walk, some people edit videos, it is what it is.
This is true. So I really want to thank you so much for coming on here today. I know that you have been doing your shows and you've been active everywhere, and I'm just thankful that we were able to find a time to have you come on here. And I think, we covered some interesting topics that people don't always get a ton of insight into from creators, especially on the local level, and especially for business owners to kind of see what we do on our end of the podcasts.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks again for having me on. I really appreciate it. I had fun doing this, and I'm sure we'll stay connected.
Oh, 100%. There's a few of us that are consistently making things on Facebook, and we all pop up on each other's feeds. So, we can all support each other and be like, hey, Sean, the world's open now. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling we're going to do something down the line.
Of course.
For people that want to get a hold of you, I know I have a couple of your links in the description, but what's the best way for them to reach out?
Honestly, phone call or text message 631-517-9211. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Sean P. Fitz, Fitz.
Awesome. So Sean, I am going to pull you off of here. I am going to close off the show. And then if you stick around for a moment, I will thank you once we are off air.
Sounds good.
All right. So like I said, guys, still have to figure out this microphone, but I will get that together. I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. I know that we started off on a rainy Wednesday afternoon. It looks like things have cleared up, which is amazing. I hope that you guys are having an awesome week and found some value in the conversation that we had today. If you'd like to watch this episode from the top, you can watch it here on Facebook. You can watch that on YouTube, on Spotify. Oh, you're not going to watch it on Spotify. You'll listen. But Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Google Podcasts. I hope that you guys kind of take a couple things away from this conversation, whether it's about, hey, you really can do it. You can create your podcast, or we're going to keep this hush-hush, but insurance can actually help you. And I want to thank you guys one more time for tuning in today. I hope you have an awesome Wednesday, and I will see you guys back here on Friday.